Hi everybody, welcome back to another stormworks video. It's not a sea trial this time. I'm going to do basically um, a little focus in on a vessel which I particularly like. I'm just going to use a custom game here, and I'm going to do really a tutorial on how to start it, but I'm going to talk from a naval architect, marine engineering point of view about this particular ship's starting system, because it's kind of very it's very realistic, and it represents how complex vessels are to operate compared to cars and that kind of thing. So just bear with me while I get this ship in. And as far as I remember, yeah, home key, in case you're wondering, we'll do this kind of stuff. We'll leave the weather as it is, that's fine. So this vessel is called, it's in the workshop, and it's called the Post, MSV Post. It might not stand out anymore. It's an older vessel. It has been updated with some of the better blocks at the front. It's actually a really good, actually pretty good multiplayer vessel, even though it's very heavy in a lot of senses. And we're going to just have a look in here and go down to the engine room, which is around the back here. So this space here is the engine room, and we've got a gent set at the back here, and this air starting system, which is what I want to focus on. So if I roll out here, you'll see this is actually down in the back here, a big cylinder for compressed air, and that's what's used to start these main engines. That's typically used on anything that's kind of larger. You have a compressed air starting system, and I've actually seen this in operation on a ship with a very large engine. It's a ship called the Cap San Diego, which is in Hamburg. So let's spawn it in. And of course, as you know, I love Stormworks. I think there's a lot of value in it as a teaching tool, and I think this is a great example to explain how complex operating a vessel is, and why people need proper training. So again, I'm just going to use my home key. I don't like jumping on the vessel anymore, it feels too unrealistic. And we're going to go down into the machinery spaces. There is actually a way to sneak down there through this panel, but we're going to go in probably and go kind of down the stairs like you would in real life. So I think there is power on this vessel, and let's see if I can just get that to catch. Okay, so we've got lights. We'll just try and use the ship's lights as much as possible. So storage is there. We go down the stairs to the engine room. So it's always down in the guts of a vessel, and in an older vessel like this, it's down the back usually. So here we are. We'll get the lights on in here as well. This vessel, you can see it's not using modular engines. It's using the large engines here. I think 6 of them, but they're kind of arranged so that there's 2 kind of main engine banks. These would be maybe 2 medium-speed diesels on a vessel this size. And they've actually written in here the fantastic little instruction guide. So let's read it. First, turn on the 2 fuel pumps. The controls are located right in front of the 2 engine blocks. So they must be down here. Then go to the aft section of the engine room and turn on the generator. Ensure that its fuel valve is open. Turn on the compressor located opposite of the generator. Wait for 14 to 15 psi. Open the starter valves of one of the engine and leave it open until the engine starts up. Repeat for engine number 2. Turn on the coolant pumps. Turn off the compressor and the generator, and then this is 2 instructions about heating and hydraulics there, so you can see. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4 steps really. Let's see if I can remember this. So fuel pumps, here we go. 2 main fuel pumps, on and on. And I'm going to have a look around here. Fuel valve, Okay, and these are just fuel switching. That's what switches all these pipes here to the different fuel tanks. Then we go down the back, and this is our genset. So we got a medium-sized engine in there, and now I'm going to try and close that. So this was a bit hard to find, but there's actually a key down here, which is the fuel. So fuel is on for that. Now these gensets, especially if it's an emergency one or a starter one like this, should be completely self-sufficient. There might be a fuel tank, but it's certainly separate from the rest of the fuel. And of course, it's all about creating its own electricity here. So generator RPM is 0, temperature is 57, battery charge is good. And we'll just turn this on. So in real life, you might need to wait until the temperature kind of settles and warms up, but that's not part of the simulation here in stormworks. So this generator is running. I'm not going to touch any of these. These control, I think, if this generator is contributing to the main ship battery systems. So we go over here, and this is where we've got our small engine, which is our air compressor, and this is our air tank over here. So we're going to turn this off. This on, sorry. I'm not too sure how loud the game sound is, but I've got a nice generator sound in the background, and now this kind of starting sound. It sounds basically like an engine starting. Again, this is somebody's been the creator of this. Sorry that I haven't got your name at the moment. Has been very, very creative here and managed to get this to sound like a compressor. I think it's just using the engine starting, but basically it simulated this whole system here. Could have been just electricity turning this engine and creating air pressure. So we're up to about 14.9, which is basically what it says, not quite getting up to 5. So we're going to start a port engine. So I can now hear these engines starting. And I'm just going to validate that these engines have started. There's actually some gauges here. So green lights, temperature climbing, temperature climbing, temperature climbing, RPM, RPM going up. Going down a little bit now. So it looks good. I'll go back and check that. So I forgot to close the valve. So now the air compressor kicks in automatically, takes the pressure up to 15 again, it's regulated and stops. So again, close the valve, I think it started. We'll go up and validate this. Usually this would be a two-person job. So green lights, temperature going up. Okay, so RPM goes up quite high over 200 and then it settles down by the looks of it. So that looks good. Then there were coolant valves. Now I don't know where these are. Coolant valve on, coolant valve on. We need to do coolant pumps. Coolant valve, coolant. I didn't say where these were, and I have actually forgotten these coolant valves before, and then the whole engines over here. Here we go, coolant pumps. Coolant pumps. What we could do is turn that off, and let's do a little validation that our coolant system is working. So RPM settled at 200, temperature still going up. RPM settled at 200, temperature going up. It was about 70 that temperature, wasn't it? So RPM settled at 200, temperature at 70, 76 and increasing. Of course, these engines on the other side have been on for longer. 78. Alright, I'm just going to put on the coolant. I'm going to turn this off now. I think so. We've got 15 psi in the bag there, in case we need to do another start cycle. So temperature is still climbing up to 80. All right, engines are started, and I'm going to trust that the coolant is going to work there. Coolant pressure looks good. All right, so we're going to just assume that the coolant system is running there. I think you can turn off this generator now. Let's do that. A little bit more quiet. Lights are working. Not too sure why we've got an alarm signal there. That maybe just means the engines are on. Or is it a temperature warning? Okay, temperature is coming down now. RPM constant. Right, looks pretty good. So, a bit of a storm outside. So that's basically the startup procedure for this MSV Post ship. Now, of course, we can go up to the bridge and we can see what we've got in terms of lights here. First of all, it's a PA system. As far as I remember, the lights are over here. Let's put on some lights here, bridge lights. So there is some repeaters up here. This is an older vessel, and we can see that the temperature is coming down at all of them. Yep, so we looks like we're good to go. In reality, again, big diesel engines need a lot of time to warm up. In fact, the really big ones, as far as I understand, you can't really turn them off because you can't take the warm water circulation out of them. They have to have warm water circulating all the time, otherwise they warp. So this vessel, we'll give it a bit of gas, and it's got gears. It's not really how people design vessels in stormworks anymore, and it's obviously not how real vessels work. You basically just have a constant speed. But there we go. We've got our prop spinning. Can just about see it there, the murky depths of the water. And I'm just going to give it a bit more gas. And there we go. And we've got quite a nice simulation of this vessel. So engine started, coolant pumps on, and all systems green to go. There she is, sailing off into a storm. Quite appropriate for stormworks. Thanks very much for your attention. This was a starting procedure of the MSV Post, one of the best ships, one of my favourite ships to operate in stormworks, an older vessel, but it's got a compressed air starting system. And that's the kind of cool thing about it. So look forward to your comments on this, and of course to your feedback. I personally think this is a really good training tool. It's not, of course, replicating the actual starting procedure, but as you can see, you can put in place the major steps that somebody's got to learn. Air compressor, generator, fuel generator valves for coolant and fuel. Create some compressed air, start the engine, check your values, and then you're good to go. So, I mean, you could write a more detailed procedure, and I've tried to replicate that in this video. So, thanks for everything, and have a good day.